Shalom, Israel. My name is Officer Kayadwan out of ISUPK, Jamaica. ISUPK started 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. ISUPK is run by Commanding General Yahana, the one man with the rank and the authority to lead over Israel at this time. I say Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai Barakatham to my brothers. Yahweh Shamar Alathan Ba'asham Yahweh Shai to my sisters. All right, so you know what I mean? We'll talk about the real origins of Marcus Garvey's Back to Africa movement. You know what I mean? You see, before Marcus Garvey came on the scene, there was, you know what I mean, after the time of construction in the 1800s, or reconstruction in the 1800s in the United States, there was the colonization movement where white supremacists, you know what I mean, wanted to relocate African Americans, our brothers, migrate them or deport them back to Africa to get rid of, you know what I mean, what they call quote unquote Negro problem. You understand? And this wasn't because they, you know what I mean, thought, you know what I mean, we should be free from bondage of slavery. You understand? It is because they know after benefiting from our slavery, what didn't want to share, you know what I mean, their wealth and their prosperity with us, you know what I mean, and integrate us within their society. You understand? So they wanted to get rid of what they call quote unquote the Negro problem. See? And then Marcus Garvey came on the scene. You know what I mean? Some might argue that Marcus Garvey was a Freemason. You know what I mean? That information is also out there as well. But he came on the scene as a leader for black people, you know what I mean, and black empowerment. See? No. These white supremacists were the ones who gave Marcus Garvey, you know what I mean, that idea of repatriation to Africa. You know what I mean? So it did not come from a place of Marcus Garvey seeing Africa as, you know what I mean, somewhere where black people would be free. See? It was more like white people using Marcus Garvey to get rid of black people. You understand? And we're going to jump into that right now. Remember to like this video, subscribe to this channel, also leave your comments. You understand? Share on all social media platforms. See? All right, so the first article we are going to read, see? It is, you know what I mean, called Founding of Liberia, 1847. And it says, the founding of Liberia in the early 1800s was motivated by the domestic politics of slavery and race in the United States, as well as by U.S. foreign policy interests. Right, so black people were now free, you know what I mean, black people, you know what I mean, was in their eyes like a nuisance. You know what I mean? In their eyes, we were like nuisances because they were enjoying their wealth, you know what I mean, while we were there, you know what I mean, trying to make life for ourselves, and we were just there. And they didn't like to see us, you know what I mean? They didn't want to live with the regret of what they did to our people, you know what I mean? They just want to get rid of us. See? In 1816, a group of white Americans founded the American Colonization Society, right, to deal with the problem of the growing number of free blacks in the United States by resettling them in Africa. That is where all this back to Africa, repatriation to Africa came from. See? The resulting state of Liberia would become the second after Haiti black republic in the world at that time. So they created this state in, you know what I mean, in Africa called Liberia, where they said they would migrate all Negroes to, see, to get rid of the problem and the way they call it now, the stain of slavery, so that they could live in their heaven without having to, you know what I mean, set their eyes or their sight upon us anymore. You understand? No, what does that have to do with Marcus Garvey? I mean, you know what I mean? Some people might argue that, well, Marcus Garvey was not inspired by them. That is just their, you know what I mean, their own ideas and their own, you know what I mean, inspirations to get rid of black people. See? But this is the fact. Now, this says, Powell explained that the pessimist mood or the pessimist mood of my Negro Rhapsody is no more than recognizing of the gloomy outlook of the Negro racial development in a white country, talking about America. See, now this Powell, let me just give you, before I read this I will show you what I go on. See, before I finish read this, I'm going to just show you who Powell himself is. This is Paul Powell. You know what I mean? We're going to read something on Paul Powell. You understand? And like I said, this was a movement back in the 1800s. You know what I mean? All right, so Slacky, not Paul Powell, John Powell. So this said, this description, John Powell, distinguished as a pianist, a musician, see, and white supremacist, right? Helped form a chapter of the Anglo-Saxon Club of America at the University of Richmond, right? So this man was, what I call it now, pivotal in the formation of the Anglo-Saxon Club, which is a white supremacist club. You understand? He was a founder. See, this was that man. The purpose of the club was to preserve Anglo-Saxon. Anglo-Saxons nowadays is represented as white people. See, of course, we know that real Anglo-Saxons were black. You know what I mean? But these Anglo-Saxons, you know what I mean, these oppressors form a club. You understand? Stealing the real identity of another people, like as usual. See? So it said the purpose of the club was to preserve Anglo-Saxon civilization in the United States and to participate in the intelligent selection and exclusion of immigrants. You know what I mean? So it's all about preventing, you know what I mean, the immigrants, keeping out other people other than white people. See? All right. Powell discussed the problem of absorption of the Negro race by the Anglo-Saxons. So this was their argument, that they are doing us, you know what I mean, a good, because eventually we would be annihilated. That is what their argument were, that we could not compete with white people because white people were superior. See? So to help black people, you know what I mean, they would just migrate us to Africa. See? And concluded that, you know what I mean, this would result in the degradation of the stronger race. You know what I mean? So one farm is that we would diminish their race. So one argument was that we would eventually go extinct. You know what I mean? But at the same time, we would diminish them. We would make their purity, their blood purity diminish, and they would become weaker. You understand? So that is who John Powell is. See? So let's get back to the article that I was reading a while ago. You understand? See? All right, so let me read it again. Powell explained that the pessimist mood of my Negro Rhapsody is no more than recognition of the gloomy outlook for the Negro racial development in a white country. Powell believed that Negro racial development could be improved by deporting all African Americans to Liberia. That is where it came from. So he was one of those, what I call it now, those colonizationists, are a part of the colonization movement that believe that black people should just be deported back to Africa. See? To that end, in the pinnacle of irony, the Anglo-Saxon Club of America formed a relationship with Marcus Garvey. Let me read that again. To that end, in the pinnacle of irony, the Anglo-Saxon Clubs, of America formed a relationship with Marcus Garvey. Why? Because Marcus Garvey also believed that black people should not integrate with white people. So it was to their convenience, that a black leader was now there who believed a similar thing that they believe, you know what I mean, because they believe in race purity. So they believe that white people should not, you know what I mean, mix with black people because black people would weaken them. And Marcus Garvey believed that for black people to get any sort of, you know what I mean, self-reliance, they must in some form separate from white people and, you know what I mean, and do them own thing. So now them introduce this, you know what I mean, migrate to Africa thing, you know what I mean, as the solution to Marcus Garvey. And Marcus Garvey accepted it. All right. So as me say, the argument is that Marcus Garvey may be, a Freemason or whatever, what have you, he might as well have been, he might as well have been, So we know that there would be no savior for the children of Israel, but our Shai Mashiach. You understand? And the Bible tells you that. See? The Bible tells that. Let me continue to read. To the end, in the pinnacle of irony, the Anglo-Saxon Clubs of America form a relationship with Marcus Garvey, the black leader of the Universal Negro Improvement Association. Right. See? All right, I'll read another article and show you that, the relationship with John Powell and Marcus Garvey became a problem. You understand? Because Marcus Garvey became so close with these white supremacists. One of them was, severe Cox, another white supremacist, and eugenics. You have another one called, what's his name again? Plecker. See? These were known white supremacist eugenics or eugenicists that Marcus Garvey yet somehow formed relationship with, and in the process ended up speaking down, about his own people because of his relationship with them. You understand? But we'll leave that for your class. See? In 1925, the Negro world sparked a controversy when an editorial linked John Powell and the Anglo-Saxon Club of America with Marcus Garvey, founder of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, the UNIA. The official weekly publication of the UNIA, the Negro World, was first published in 1918. Garvey was the first editor of the Negro World, and even as others took over the editorial staff, he continued to write front page editorials for each issue. You understand? All right. Let me scroll down. See? Therefore, as a result of the Negro World editorial, both Powell and Garvey wrote letters of protest to the paper. These men did not refute their personal connection and reciprocal admiration, but challenged instead the editorial assertion that Marcus Garvey and Powell, ASC, which is the Anglo-Saxon Association, had conspired. So, there was some allegations about an attack and that they planned it, and some, institution, attack on the Hampton Institution. And they were so close that them both came out in defense of each other, in Marcus Garvey's editorial. You understand? But, like I said, the Bible told us that, we won't be saved, we won't be saved by these heathens. We won't, because guess what? We as a people, we can only be saved by coming together, under the law, statutes, and commandments. So joining on with these heathens, you understand, won't save us. You understand? This is the book of Deuteronomy 28 and 68, and it says, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, talking about the slavery that we suffer over here. See? Let me put it on the screen 1 second. See? So it says, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies. So John Powell is not our friends. We were sold to our enemies. Let me continue reading. See? For bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. All right. Now go focus on the no man shall buy you part, because in Hebrew culture, in Israelite culture, if you found yourself in debt, you could pay off that debt, to another Israelite by being a servant. You understand? But if you had a family member that could pay off your debt, then they could buy you back. So when it says, ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you, the no man shall buy you part is relating to, that Hebrew culture, which is a law, you understand? Which is a statutes in our law, that somebody can pay off your debt and free you from that servitude. Well, Marcus Garvey was not able to free us. You know what I mean? And none of the other so-called black leaders was able to free us because, you know what I mean, that is not the will of the Most High, that we should be free from this bondage. You know what I mean? Until Yahushua Mashiach comes. You understand? It is the Most High that will free us. And he will send our king. You understand? So, and like we say, Marcus Garvey is not in the truth. So Marcus Garvey can't get you out of the situation that you're in. That's why we implore you. Come to the ISUPK and the commanding general, Johanna. You understand? By learning your culture, learning your history. This is how you are going to be safe. You understand? By coming to the knowledge of the truth. See? You joining the oppressor who had you in slavery. You understand? That can't help you. And that is why Marcus Garvey and all our other black leaders failed. See? They don't have the truth. You know what I mean? And they came together with the oppressor. Martin Luther King did it. The Black Panther did it. You know what I mean? Nation of Israel, Islam did it. All of them came together with the oppressor and the movement failed. And the primary situation that caused them to fail is because they are not in the truth. You know what I mean? And that primary factor is the reason why the ISUPK is so successful to this day, because we have the truth. We keep the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. See? That is the reason why, you know what I mean, we still flourish to this day. You know what I mean? And we will continue until our king come. This is the book of Ecclesiasticus 12 and 10. And it says, never trust thine enemy. And that is a fatal, you know what I mean, mistake that Marcus Garvey made. Trusting in the enemy to the point of admiration too. You know what I mean? He went as far as to admire these men. You understand? But how can you be a leader of black people? You understand? And admire the people who oppress your people. It can't work like that. So it says, for like as iron rusted, so is his wickedness, right? So you never trust your enemy. You know what I mean? And Deuteronomy 28 and 68, let me read it again, says, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships by the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies. So the oppressor that we were sold to, he is our enemy. You understand? He is our enemy. He is not our friend. So that is the reason why that have to fail, because no joining in hand with the oppressor will ever free the children of Israel. We would have to come back to the covenant that we have with the Most High, you know what I mean? And keep his laws, statutes, and commandment. And that is how we go on the path of salvation. See? Not by coming together with the oppressor. Not by joining hand in hand with white supremacists. See? That will not save us. Then we're going to jump to another scripture. We're going to jump to the book of John, chapter 8 and 32. Remember to like this video. Subscribe to this channel. This is ISUPK Jamaica and the commanding general, your honor. You understand? So as me say, Marcus Garvey did not have the truth. He was not in the truth. He did not teach. He knew that we were Israelites, you know, but you know what I mean? I went on to teach also, or told our people that we were Israelites. But he did not have the truth like the ISUPK. He did not know that, you know what I mean, he should not join hand in hand with the enemy. You know what I mean? He did not know that he should keep the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. See? This is the book of John 8 and 32, and it says, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. That is what will make us free from this captivity. Learning the truth, learning that we are the Israelites, and coming back to the covenant that we have with the Most High, and separating from our enemies. You understand? That is what will set us free as the children of Israel. Not joining hand in hand with our enemies. Because the oppressor who enslaved you can't save you. It's the Most High who put you in this condition because of our sins. And the only thing that can free us out of this captivity is to come back to the Most High. You understand? And with that, just like this video, subscribe to this channel, share on our social media platforms. You know the thing already. If you have comments as well and questions, just put it in the comment section. We are ISUPK Jamaica under commanding general, your honor. And with that, shalom.